From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. The recent news stories about wildfires in California seem all too familiar to Coloradans. We see homes destroyed by wildfires here every year. But we have also been hearing reports of a second, slower-moving disaster in news reports out of California. Insurance companies pulling out of high-risk areas, leaving thousands of homeowners with no ability to get coverage. That kind of crisis is something Colorado lawmakers are working to avoid here. Democrat Kyle Brown represents House District 12, which includes Louisville and Superior in the state house. He knows about natural disasters firsthand since that area saw hundreds of homes destroyed by the Marshall Fire 3 years ago. Brown has ideas about how to limit these insurance problems in Colorado, even as natural disasters become more common and more severe. He joined me to talk about them. Representative Brown, as I mentioned, you represent a community that's been hit hard by wildfire before. I'm wondering, what does it feel like to watch these wildfires devastate Southern California?
It's devastating, Erin. I mean, my heart goes out to the folks in Los Angeles and the Los Angeles area because my community knows all too well what challenges are ahead for the folks who have lost their homes and the folks who have standing homes that might be significantly damaged because of smoke and ash. We are still trying to recover 3 years later. There are still a number of people who are not rebuilt, who are still working on getting home in the Louisville, Superior, Boulder County area from the Marshall Fire. It is a long recovery process.
Yeah. The threat of wildfire in Colorado feels like it's always with us, ever present. But what's new is this idea that insurance companies would just say, nope, sorry, we're not going to insure homes in your area anymore because of the risk. Which areas of Colorado are vulnerable to this right now?
I think, some people talk about the WUI, which is the wildland-urban interface.
Yeah.
Certainly places in more fire-prone areas are at risk of not having available or affordable insurance for their homes. But as we found out in the Marshall Fire, even communities that you might not have expected to be at risk for wildfire can face devastating disasters. And so even areas, members of my community, condo associations and homeowners have faced challenges in getting insurance post-fire.
Have we already seen this happen in Colorado?
I think that to some degree, the carriers, the insurance companies that had smaller footprints in Colorado, some of them have pulled out. Fortunately, we've had larger companies that have been able to sort of pick up the slack, that have been able to, in most cases, I think, offer coverage to some of these folks. We've done some things in Colorado to try to create a backstop. We, right now in Colorado in 2025, we are finally implementing what's called the FAIR Plan, which means that if you've been denied by, I think it's 3 or more insurance companies already, you can get access to a basic level policy. It's basic coverage, and it is meant to be sort of an insurer of last resort, but it is something that at least will provide a backstop in some of the worst cases. But that's not the long-term solution. The long-term solution is really shoring up our insurance market. And I think that starts with making sure that our communities are less risky and are mitigated to a point that will help to minimize damage.
Let's take a step back from wildfires for a moment, because one of the ways you're working to keep home insurance affordable is with a bill that's focused on damage from hailstorms. You've put forth a bill that aims to make hail-proof roofs more affordable for homeowners. Why focus on hail damage, when wildfires are usually top of mind for a lot of people?
The hail damage in Colorado and to our homeowners market is as difficult a problem as wildfires is. It doesn't get as much attention. Those are very expensive events because when you get a major hailstorm with large hail, everyone in the community needs to replace their roof. And that can be tens of thousands of dollars per house. And so, making sure that we are putting on roofs that are resistant to hail is incredibly important, because it means that when a hailstorm hits, those folks will be less likely to need to replace their roof, and that will reduce the payouts from the insurance industry and ultimately lead to lower homeowners premiums and a less risky market. All of this is in service of how do we keep homeowners insurance here in Colorado, and dealing with hail is a huge part of that.
One idea you've talked about is to make insurance companies get approval from regulators when they set new rates. I'm wondering what the pushback has been like from insurance companies. And do you think this is a viable option?
Well, I think it's an option that we certainly use in other areas of insurance, specifically in health insurance. You can't sell a policy in health insurance in Colorado or really in any other state without getting what's called prior approval from the Commissioner of Insurance.
Sure.
In homeowners insurance, it works a little bit differently. The homeowners insurance companies submit their rates and then sell policies until the commissioner tells them that they are excessive or inadequate. So we're asking for the approval to be on the front end, potentially.
But do you think this plan could increase the odds that some insurance companies will walk away from insuring Coloradans?
That is not the goal, obviously. I don't think so. The goal of this bill and of these efforts is to shore up our insurance market in Colorado. But I'm happy to continue to have conversations with the industry to make sure that isn't going to happen.
Finally, just to zoom out for a moment, how optimistic are you that insurers won't start pulling out of Colorado if we have another bad year for wildfires in 2025?
I think it's always a risk. I think we have to come to the realization that with climate change, what it is, that risks in our communities have changed. Many of us who've lived in Colorado for many, many years remember that giant hailstorms weren't necessarily a thing 40 years ago or whatever. Yeah. Many of us also don't remember big wildfires being almost an annual event, right? Things are changing. The climate is changing, and we need to adapt. We need our insurance companies and our insurance market to adapt. I am confident that if we do nothing, things will only get worse. And that is why we need to continue to work on this particular issue this year. And do some things that will help stabilize our market and make, hopefully, homeowners insurance more available and affordable going forward.
That's State Representative Kyle Brown. He represents Louisville and Superior at the State House. He mentioned there are other measures being discussed at the legislature to help keep insurance viable for Coloradans. Those include tougher building codes that would reduce the risk of a wildfire destroying homes in some communities. It also includes guarantees from the state that insurance companies would have some support if an unusually devastating disaster strikes homeowners here. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.